Hello, compassion ambassadors and friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to yourself and into this really incredibly important topic about how we truly heal and about love being the foundation of our life. I'm here with one of my most trusted and medicinal soul sisters, Sunny Justice. And she's with us from Panama this morning. I'm having coffee in bed with her, and she's in the garden, just beaming angelic light out to me. I've just been amplified a gazillion times by the chat we've been having for the last 20 minutes. Thank you, Sunny. Thank
Oh,
you.
honey, the pleasure's all mine.
Wow. I am just, just ecstatic to be able to connect around what you're creating with Love Daily, about your new book, Mugged by God, which is a path we both know very well. And about, really how what is happening now, especially now that we're in 2020, is that it's just a time, to abandon the ways of the 80s when we did everything on our own, and to realize that it is time to come together, that our network of love is our currency. It is how we're going to amplify our mission on the planet, and it's how we're going to create and generate sustainable abundance, so that we all know how we're going to make it through the rest of our lives. Did I sum that up right?
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
That's a biggie.
Can you tell me, first of all, I think everyone needs to understand that you are who you are, like besides like this like incredible beaming angel in a garden in Panama. This woman was a pioneer in natural skincare. She is like one of the master hearts behind Burt's Bees, which then sort of triggered a mass movement of using recycled plastic. And can you tell us a little bit about who you've been and how that's like the soil for what we're going to talk about?
Okay, sure, absolutely. Well, I've had a really fortunate opportunity to have a really interesting array of career jobs so far. So most of my career has been spent in the personal care industry. But unfortunately, the beginning of it was all spent in chemically derived crappy ass blue, green, and pink lotions and gels and chemical everything. So after spending enough time on that side of the industry, of course, I had to do my karmic payback for putting too many crappy chemically derived products out there. So I then spent about 14 years at Burt's Bees as chief pollinator. That was my title. Roxanne was queen bee and I was chief pollinator. Those were the only two titles that anybody had. So it was an awesome opportunity, Burt's Bees, because we were one of the leaders in natural skincare at the time. And to have that opportunity to open the door for people to begin to understand the difference between using natural ingredients on your skin, which is an organ, versus putting chemicals on your skin, it changed the path of personal care. It literally changed the path. And you brought up like recycled plastic. We were having a conversation that in my current project, once again, which I'll tell you a little bit about, but I'm working to pioneer a new paradigm in packaging, just like we did at Burt's Bees. We could not, that was probably in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. We could not get any manufacturer to make us recycled plastic tubes for lip balm. So we had to literally pay them to try to make a 10% recycled plastic. Then we had to pay them to try to make a 25%. Eventually they made 100% recycled plastic. It was completely safe and fine. They became the largest manufacturers of recycled plastic in the world. And they should have given us big bonuses because we wouldn't take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm finding like I'm thrilled and excited that in 2020, actually in August of 2020, I'm launching a new natural skincare collection called Love Daily. And Love Daily is going to be presented in silkscreen glass bottles. And I'm working right now with companies to develop a biodegradable material that could form into packets that you could use to refill your bottles with. Because we can't continue to pretend like we're not having an impact on the earth with the way we utilize products, the amount of things we buy, the amount of trash that we create. And so this company is really exciting to me because not only are we going to do what I know how to do best, which is make really superb natural skincare products, but we're really focused on consciousness and on charitable giving. So I think what's really missing from businesses right now is there's not a built-in factor for every single product that you buy that gives back to two things: earth restoration and humanitarian aid. Because literally, if we're buying anything, we're using the earth's resources. So it should be an absolute given that with every product you buy, whether it's 10% of the profits of that product, it's not it's not a suggestion anymore. It needs to become an absolute given that every single product that's purchased gives back to restoration of the earth and humanitarian aid. So we're going to be hopefully a big leader in that, a leader in promoting that, because I would do that anyway. I do that anyway. I do that in my life. I'm always giving 10% of whatever I have back because I understand that's how flow works. You know, if I want to feel abundant, all I have to do is share.
I actually do the same thing with the Network of Love, is that because everything that comes to the Network of Love is donated to me, to my medical fund, to my Radiant Health. And even though I still need more money every month to make my medical bills, I still tithe or donate a percentage of what's donated to me to someone else's medical fund, you know, someone that I know in the community or something like that. And it's become like such an incredible, like, it makes me feel so good to be able to give something. When, you know, it's really a radical thing. Like, the giving and receiving are so connected, and it doesn't feel good to only receive, at least for me. Like, I feel so empowered by being able to pass on a portion of what I'm receiving to someone else. So one other thing I wanted to mention about what you're saying is that as you're talking, I'm realizing how, like, our skin, our relationship with our skin is kind of a mirror image of our relationship with the earth. Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people have forgotten that everything is alive.
Right.
We don't think the earth is alive. We don't think our skin is alive. We treat everything like it's a surface because we're living on the surface. You know, it's just a reflection of our consciousness, right?
Right.
So that's why we've got to go within. So we stop going without, because we're going without connection to the earth. And you can't ever care for anything that you don't love. And you can't love something that you're not connected to. And so, you know, it's really reawakening consciousness more than everything else to my friend Gina, that we both know, you know, her new book, Love in Detail, talks about it so beautifully. That, you know, really what love is, it's the details of everything. Because when we're living in the other realms in spirit form, there are no details. We're just perfect light and everything is blissful and perfect. But here we have all the amazing details, you know, of every plant and flower around me, of everything that I look at. It's all alive and it's all God.
Right.
And, you know, it's interesting because I have a book called Mugged by God that is my first book, coming out in just a few days on February 11th. And I'm calling it a holy humor memoir. But, you know, some people have commented on the title that they didn't think that mugged and God went together. And I'm like, well, obviously your life has been quite different than mine.
Right.
because
I understand the title.
you get it well, girl.
I do, yeah.
I think, I must not have been a very good listener because I needed to get whacked upside the head a lot to get the messages. And, but that's the beautiful part about getting older. I think you become a better listener. And thank you, God. I don't need to be killed anymore, or
humble listening,
brutalized, or anything. It's all just flowy river from here on out.
I love the tagline that I saw somewhere, and I know that we talked about this when we first met many years ago. It's this whole thing of from holy shit to holy.
Yeah, that is the tagline of my book, A Journey from Holy Shit to Holy.
Yes.
Because it's like they're on the scales of justice. My last name is Justice, so I'm sure there's a reason for all of this. But it's almost like that always felt like my life. Like I was always looking at the scales, and here was holy and here was holy shit. And they were just always going like this. Yeah. And I think it was until I kind of realized that I was playing rolling the dice with God. I was playing hopscotch, and then I just jump off the board and I'm bored. I'm not playing anymore. And, it took for me to really realize that God's never absent. I'm the absentee. And when I become absent and I'm not aware of God's presence around me, in me, just not thinking about God, then I tend to go without a lot of things. Usually joy, peace of mind, wellness, abundance, relationships, a lot. You go without a lot when you don't go within. So that's the beautiful part about Mugged by God is, it was actually really kind of horrifying writing it, because I've told you about, at least 70% of every bad thing I've ever done. But there is great surrender in releasing the shame, because it's only my shame until I share it with others. And then maybe it helps them move to a place of surrender without having to hold the shame as many years as I did.
Yeah, because really it's just our humanness.
And there's really nothing to be ashamed of.
Right. Because we're all going through it in some way.
I know. It was I remember once when I was young, around 9 or 10 years old, I was in the bathroom looking in the mirror, admiring myself as a young girl will. And my mother walks by and sees me in the bathroom and says, "You're shameless." And I thought, you are so wrong. I have so much shame. But, it's just so weird how we even say these things. I wish someone would say, "You're shameless." I'd be like, "Yay!
I made it.
Yeah, no more shame. Yay!"
Well, that's that sort of evolution from 3D to 5D that we were talking, 3D to 5D, right? Where it's that's just so old paradigm, so old thinking. Those are the programs that we've all been working so hard to clear out that we don't have to carry anymore.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult, I find, at times like this in our societal current situation. I'm so glad I don't live in the United States, so that I have more freedom for simple thoughts, simple life, because I don't have as much chaos going on around me. When you look at the chaos of what's going on, for example, in the political system in the United States, you just wonder, has everybody really completely disconnected with their hearts? Or why have we allowed so many people that we've given our voice to represent us be heartless?
Right.
It's but then again, I look at the bright side. You usually have to take a few steps backwards when you're making catastrophic movement forward, because change doesn't happen without chaos. So whenever I get frustrated by all of that, I think, wow, I'm so grateful for all the chaos this is bringing up, because once and for all, we have to bring all the negativity to the surface to be healed. There's no way around it. And it has to come up. and be healed. So we have a lot of people participating and making sure that it comes up.
Healed. Yeah. And that's the contrast. That's the detail. That's the love in detail.
That's it.
Because the light doesn't exist without the dark. I'm finding like it's this relationship between the two. Like when you said there was holy on one scale and holy shit on another scale, I was really understood what's happening in my life a little bit more, because I realized, oh, okay, I feel like what's happening, especially in the last couple of years for me, is I'm being shown how to weave those two together. And I call that the path of the light, that it's like, it's not holy shit over here and holy over there. It's holy shit, dive deep inside.
Right.
Start looking for the light in the dark, and then thread a path of the light in the dark, in the darkest of the dark, because the contrast is always there. So
and I think we will always find too that our shadows are nothing more than us standing in the way of our own light. Like that was a huge realization for me, that I was the only one casting shadows on my light. Because for so long we want it to be someone else's fault. A mate, a parent when we're young, whatever it is, a boss. But it's like there's no one that can create the shadow that blocks my light except me. No one. And these things just become like because once you know it, you can't unknow it. You can still decide not to do anything about it, but you can't unknow it.
Right.
And that just makes it more self-responsible. So even if you're deciding not to do it, you can say, I'm consciously deciding to block my own light right now. And that's like, okay, until you don't want to do it anymore. Yes.
Well, and until you're, oh gosh, that just, it triggers something for me, where one of my doctors said to me once, you're always wanting to reach for the light. Because I was exploring this whole experience of path of the light practices, where I've been working with the rising sun and the setting sun. When I was working with superhumans, I started doing rising sun, setting sun, path of the light, like threading to the light intelligence, bringing it through my body. And so I was talking with one of my doctors about that as my health started declining. And she said, oh, you're so funny, because you want the light that's out there, but you don't, like, you need to turn around, go into the dark. That's where the true light is. That's where your light is. And so I've been thinking about that for years, and being my own version of being mugged by God is giving me a really great chance to explore that. And this conversation is kind of, because it's like this, for the rest of my life, I'll be trying to understand sort of thing. I'll get little snippets. And so now I'm feeling what you're saying kind of goes with this whole, one of my other favorite taglines you have is go within or go without.
Yes.
And it feels like this concept of blocking our light has a lot to do with not being willing to turn into the darkness of ourselves, not being willing to go within. Therefore, you will go without, because that's how we block our light. We're not willing to walk through the dark caverns to find the truth. And what I find is that even in my deepest, darkest moments of immense fear that happen in these cycles I'm going through, when I'm looking outside myself or trying to figure things out or reaching to hold on, reaching outside for stability, it just gets worse. Like it gets so much worse. And I often think of you and I hear go within or go without.
That's better than the people who tell me every time I take a shower, I think of you. As I'm swearing at you in my ice cold rinse at the end. I'm like, yes, you became Alkaline. Yes.
You're such a catalyst. I love it.
I'm born on the day of the iconoclast, so it's just my path in life.
Yeah.
to break all rules,
Yeah.
just to break all rules. I
Right.
love that more than anything else.
Mhm. I feel
That and my favorite word in the English language is next. Maybe that's why I've had 4 husbands already.
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Wow. Next. Oh,
Next.
I I love it. It's so great to have like a soul sister who just knows like you. I feel like there was a recognition of that this first second we met. I don't even think we've ever spent that much time together. But
No, it was instant love,
it was
instant love.
instant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I think you're going to share. We'll share in when I share this. I'll also share a link to our original conversation about
Oh,
being
cool.
the spiritual whoop-assing, is what I think we were calling it. Is that similar to being mugged by God?
Spiritual ass whooping,
Oh,
not
it was, yeah. It wasn't the spiritual can of whoop ass. It's the spiritual ass whooping. Sorry, my.
oh.
Well, I think it's so important to be able to laugh about this stuff. Like humor is
Oh,
our.
I mean, really, that's where life really starts getting fun.
Yeah.
When you can laugh, because otherwise you're just crying all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You got to go one way or the other.
Mhm.
And literally, everything is our perspective. So if you don't like how you're feeling about something, step away from it. I always love the story of if you stand in front of the ocean, if you're standing on the beach and you look at the ocean, you see the color of the water, you hear the sound of it, you smell it, you have complete relationship with that water. But then if you just walk up on a hill and look down at the exact same spot, the ocean has a completely different color. It smells different. You're not going to feel the same thing at all, even though the ocean itself hasn't changed. All
Right.
that changed was your perspective. So that's what we often need to do when we're not feeling at ease and happy and peaceful with things. Walk up the hill, take a look at it from a different perspective, because that's all your life is your perspective of it.
Mm.
So, I
I
don't
really
know.
need to
I mean, now that I'm
realize.
in my 60s, I laugh a lot more because I really don't give a damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I give a damn about everything that's important. I don't give a damn what anybody thinks of what I think.
Mm.
Not everybody can have exceptional taste.
Not everyone. Exactly. I know. I find that a lot because I'm struggling with that whole thing of I'm still a little stuck in wanting to be understood
Mhm.
and a little bit of like the invalidation. There's a lot of invalidation that comes along with having what's mostly an invisible sort of scenario happening with my body, because people
Mhm.
love to say, but you look great, and it's like, well, if you're seeing me, it's not happening, so you're not actually seeing it. So we're not talking about the same thing. And then I just noticed like this inner like fighter, like defender, wanting to be validated. And so I think that that's part of what I'm learning. That's one of my current mugging scenarios is just.
Yeah. Well, you're still young, girl.
I just want freedom from that so badly. How did
All
you
right,
find
there you go. Let it go.
let it go?
Have you ever watched Bob Newhart's video called Stop It?
Uh-uh.
It's a funny old therapy video. Everybody who sees this, you've got to go check it out on YouTube. Bob Newhart. It's just called Stop It.
Okay.
That's all the therapy anybody ever needs for the rest of their life. Is that video.
Okay, good. I'm gonna
I
share
just
that.
saved you all thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Right. And you're not saying, I mean, I just want to clarify, like you're not saying like to spiritually bypass anything or to not process your emotions, or I feel like you're saying really the opposite.
Everything is your perspective.
Yeah.
So if you need to process something and you decide it's going to take you a year, it'll take you a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not right or wrong. If
Yeah.
you decide it's going to take you 3 minutes, it'll take you 3 minutes. That's not right or wrong.
Right.
And it may take you 3 minutes today and 2 minutes the next and one, and then you don't think about it again. Or it could be it takes you 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know that it's your perspective
Right.
that's creating the timeline. And even though that could be the perspective of your heart or the perspective of your brain or the process you're going through, nobody else is involved in how long it takes except you.
And then there's a relationship between your perspective and going within.
You know?
The perspective can't change until you go in there. And,
or I mean, sometimes it'll change in just the most instant, subtle way, because it's like a story I tell in my book. My whole life, I was raised as a meat eater. You know, and we had to have bacon for breakfast and bologna sandwiches for lunch and meatloaf for dinner. You know, just we always had meat. And I was an adult in my late 20s. I walked into this to-go place that had vegetarian and mixed foods, and I was waiting to pick up my food, and there was a pamphlet on the wall, and it said A period, I period, D period, S period. And I'm like, AIDS, why the periods? So, and I could see there was little writing after it. So I went up to look at it to see what it said. And it said animals in the digestive system. And at that moment, all I could picture was the movie Aliens and that thing like popping out of the person's like abdomen. And I thought, oh my God, I actually have animals in my digestive system. Which had never occurred to me before. Like, yes, I had meat, but I never thought about literally that I had animals in my digestive system. And I decided I don't want animals in my digestive system anymore. And then became a vegetarian for 35 years. And it was as easy as that. Just because I realized something and my perspective changed.
Right.
And so sometimes it's a long process. Sometimes it's an instantaneous wisdom upgrade.
Yes. Wow, I love it. Well, you and I can definitely, hopefully we'll chat a lot more. But in closing, I want people to know, first of all, where they can find the book, Mugged by God, which I highly recommend.
Okay, it's launching on Amazon on February 11th.
Okay.
We also have a Facebook group, a Mugged by God discussion group, which if people hear this message soon, get in there and we give you some free gifts as well. So join our Facebook group.
So that's the thing right now, is join the Facebook group. There's some free gifts.
Yes.
And, you know, I highly recommend it, because I can say that just tapping into your wisdom, just tapping into the humor of what it's like to be a human.
Yeah.
It's medicine. It really is. So thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome. You know, God has the greatest sense of humor of all.
Yes.
So, you know, that's the brilliant part.
I love it. You know, I love how we said just before we started this, you know, I feel like my path is I'm learning how to be in relationship with what feels like an invisible force. Most of us feel like God is invisible, but you said something that was just like, duh, oh my God, of course it's not invisible. So share that, where you were saying to you, God,
God's this invisible force. And I was saying, wow, I see Mother and God like literally around everywhere.
Yeah.
There's angels everywhere. There's so many deities attempting to help. It's like, please, could I have a little space to breathe?
Right.
You know, it's like, I love you all so dearly. But again, it's like, I'm only ever lonely when I disappear. Because when I'm present with divinity, their energy is so prevalent that literally, at least to me, I can see them. I can see how I see them in my mind.
Right.
But it's as if I can sit right across from them. I mean, if you've never attempted that, do that. Like when you're doing your meditation, to have the feeling that you're sitting right across from Mother and Father God. And just see what it feels like to sit in their presence. And you'll just feel these enormous waves of love.
Yes.
And then you'll start to imagine them however, and whether you imagine God as God the Father, God the Mother, God the Spirit, you know, however you imagine divinity, whatever God is to you, sit across from it and be in space with it. And it's so delicious.
That's what I'm finding is like truly this relationship with what I'm calling the force of love, God, the force that created me in love. You know, it's nameless, it's formless, but it's palpable, and
Yeah.
that's the relationship I'm cultivating deeply in my practices as the found. You know, it's like like creating a new foundation for the my optimal blueprint of healing and radiant health in my body as I'm going through this process. And so I've been talking a lot about our relationship with the force of love, and you just put it into such fantastic perspective and words, so thank you for that. And so
Oh, my
it's like
pleasure.
we can see with our feeling, and this was something that I learned from the superhumans when I was working on the superhuman project a couple years ago, was that we don't actually see with our eyes, we see with our skin.
Oh, that's so cool.
We see with our skin, which wraps up our whole entire conversation perfectly, you know, because Love Daily is bringing out these amazing skincare products. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about these skincare products, your skin as an organ, and the relationship with the earth and where we can find it.
Well, so Love Daily, again, is going to be a very concise, I like to call it conscious, concise, and clean. And so this face care line, which will be for men and women of all skin types, is going to be 6 products. Every one of them ranges from 97% to 100% natural, because everything that our industry does confuses people. You know, they put all of these marketing blurbs, like the words natural and regular, or I'm sorry, natural and organic are not even regulated in the skincare industry. You can put one organic ingredient in a formula and call the whole product organic.
Wow.
I really want to get down to basics with people so they understand that because their skin is the largest organ of their body, even though a lot of times men will disagree with that, it is a true
They would like to disagree.
you know, people don't realize that, like, if they take a slice of garlic and put it on their wrist and put a piece of tape over it, in an hour or less, you're going to have the worst garlic breath you've ever had in your life.
Wow.
And they don't realize that they're literally absorbing everything that they apply topically into their organs. So my philosophy since Burt's Bees has always been, I won't put anything on my skin that I would not put in my mouth and eat. I only use skin food. And
Mm.
that's why, even though I'm 3,000 years old, my skin still looks incredibly fabulous, because I treat it like a precious organ and I give it healthy food to eat. So we're going to make it super easy, super simple, and teach you a lot so that you can become your own skincare master, because
Mhm.
nobody teaches us how to do it. We don't learn it in school. Chances are our mom didn't know. So you keep using the oil of Olay that your mom used,
Mhm.
and you don't even recognize that it's just a whole jar of chemicals.
Wow.
So we're going to change all of that and give people affordable, clean, healthy solutions that are also earth conscious.
Mhm.
You gotta have everything happening in order for things to be a success now. And then with the money we'll make, we'll be giving back to restoration and humanitarian aid,
Wow.
because that's the whole reason that we're doing this, so we can give back and give back and give back more.
And that is how you start to create and inhabit a network of love, a network of giving and receiving, and having everything that you're doing in your life coming from and giving back to love. And that's just what we're going to have to do now,
It
people.
is
Like it just is.
for success. Yeah.
That's what it is.
And you know, our tagline for Love Daily is love your skin, love yourself, love others and the earth daily. I mean, that's what it's
Baseline.
all about.
Baseline.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Let's start. And that's
That's
where we
me
go.
for life.
Yeah. Wow. Is there a website, or I mean, when can you
The
start?
Love Daily website is not up yet, but it will be soon.
Okay.
And you know, probably this summer we might launch a few of the products individually on Amazon, but August is when the whole big kit and caboodle will be introduced, and we're going to focus a lot on education. So I'm going to be doing a lot of teaching to
Okay.
make it very simple for people to know what to do.
Great. Wow.
Yeah.
So really, okay, the path starts with from holy shit to holy. If you're in holy shit, then jump in the mugged by God.
Yeah, Mug by God is kind of like a modern day toolbox
Yeah.
that makes you laugh and cry, but in the end gives you tools, because I share the meditation with you that
Yeah.
divinity shared with me that helped me get through it all.
Oh,
And actually later today, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live. We're actually going to film the meditation so that we'll be able to offer it on the Mugged by God website for people. Because a lot of people have attended meditations that I have guided, because I've guided meditation for about 15, 20 years. And I've always been asked to put it on videotape, and I never have. So we're actually doing it today.
wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, wonderful. I haven't been on social media for a few weeks, but that makes me want to jump on just to be with you a little bit more. So
Yay.
thank you so much for this. And we'll be sharing more soon, I'm sure. I mean, this is just the
Okay,
beginning,
Goddess
right?
Heather. Mwah.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you.
love you daily.
I love you daily. Thank you for being medicine in my life. And thank you for being who you are and being so brave to continue listening deeply and then putting that into action in the world. So thank you.
Well, thank you for seeing it brave. It just keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah. Right.
I'd be drinking too much tequila, so I'm quite busy.
I'm so excited to get better and come down and drink tequila with you.
Come on down, girl.
I know. More soon. Love you.
Okay.
Bye.
Blessings, everyone. Ciao,
Blessings.
ciao.
More
Bye.
friends.